Now that we have made it into the month of August, I thought I would stop and rank all 6 new releases that I saw in the month of July from the worst to the best. Now, I have seen 6 films, 2 of which will be very easily in last place. I saw the other 4 are, I would say, very good to amazing films. Now, for you guys, however many films you guys saw in the month of July, new ones that you saw, go down in the comment section, rank them from worst to best on what films did you enjoy the most, which films did you not like the most. Let's have a good, fun, lively discussion down there. For me, though, going into this, coming in last place at number 6 pretty easily is Her Private Hell. Now, going into this film, I was mainly drawn to it because Sophie Thatcher was in it. I really like Sophie Thatcher as an actress, and the aesthetic of the film looked really interesting and cool from the trailers. Now, going in, I generally knew somewhat the plot and idea of the film was going to be this science fiction world mixed with kind of the serial killer horror genre. And I thought that would be potentially really interesting. However, the film in and of itself really offers nothing but really interesting visuals all throughout the film. Because beyond that, the film is an absolute drag to get through. It's only like an hour and 50 minutes or something, but it feels like 2.5 hours. You don't really care or very confused by what all the main characters are doing all throughout the film. There's like no urgency, it feels like, when you have like this mysterious killer out there killing women throughout the whole film. And I just thought the general tone and the 2 genres they were trying to use in the film, they just did not mix together that well. So yeah, this film was just an absolute utter disappointment and really bad for the most part, other than its visual style. Now, coming in at number 5 for me is The Devil's Mouth, and this was a film that was just released a few days ago at the very end of July, straight onto Amazon Prime Video. It was this new shark attack horror survival film, starring Catherine Newton as the main star and main actress in the film. And she really does the majority of the heavy lifting for this film because outside of that, it's a pretty generic, by the numbers. The characters get stuck in this enclosed cave system, which kind of makes for an interesting, somewhat different uh, location for the shark to be hunting them down. But beyond that, the majority of the characters are kind of insufferable to the point where like you don't really care about them whatsoever. You really only care about Catherine Newton's character, and then throughout the rest of the film, you just get little bits of the shark coming in at very just cliche, typical points to halt them from actually trying to escape, like we've seen in so many other shark attack films. So, yeah, The Devil's Mouth was fun enough, but at the end of the day, still a very generic, typical shark movie. Now, coming in at number 4, and this is where there's a big gap between the bottom 2 and the next 4 on this list. The next 4 on this list, I would say, are either really good films to absolutely amazing films. So coming in at number 4, I have Evil Dead Burn. Now, going into this film, I was super excited because I really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise from a few years ago. I am much more a fan of these newer, much more brutal, gory Evil Dead films that Fede Alvarez's 2013 remake established. So going into this one, I was super excited to see what can they do this time to bring both the extreme carnage and crazy gore with the Deadites attacking people, but maybe what could they do a little differently from the previous 2 films where kind of like the majority of the rest of the franchise, it's just these characters stumbling upon the book of the Necronomicon and then inciting the Deadites to come and attack them. and them the characters trying to survive, but eventually majority dying and getting brutally killed by them. So with this film, I went in with pretty high expectations, really excited for it, and the film honestly mostly delivered on what I wanted it to be, with it being definitely the most gory, the most nasty of the Evil Dead films we've gotten, even of these recent three that started with the Fede Alvarez 2013 film, of the Evil Dead films becoming more gory and more graphic with its violence. So that was really fun to see. And then just with the title Evil Dead Burn, it uses that kind of very literally, with a lot of fire and burning down places and burning people as in brutal ways for certain characters to die. But then at the same time, the plot of the story is tweaked just enough to make it a bit more interesting this time around, where the Deadites are actually a lot more proactive and have a true reason to be attacking and going after this family. So that was really a really fun little different little change to see with the typical formula, typical story of an Evil Dead film. Now, at the same time, a bunch of the main characters, if not really all of them, are also very insufferable. This family, you're just not really supposed to like them whatsoever. They're all really annoying, terrible people for the most part. And as well, going into an Evil Dead film, you still kind of know what you're going to get, and this film does deliver on that. So that is good, but also can be kind of like, oh, can we like really try and do something different with the films and the franchise now? But generally, overall, Evil Dead Burn was a great uh, just new film and an addition, great addition to the franchise overall. Now, coming in at number 3 is the film that I was honestly most surprised by from the new films that I saw last month in July, and that is The Invite. If you don't know what The Invite is, it's this comedy film from Olivia Wilde, who started with the movie Booksmart several years ago. That was really good, really funny, really interesting with the ideas it also explored. Then she did Don't Worry Darling, which was a lot more divisive, had a lot more problems with its messaging. But The Invite definitely goes back to how great she can be with the stories that she creates and the comedy that she uses, with in the same line as her first film, Booksmart. Now, this film, The Invite, has her and Seth Rogen as a couple who invite their upstairs neighbors, played by Edward Norton and Penelope Cruz, downstairs to their place for a dinner party, invitation to have dinner all together. And then once that happens, that's when you really start to understand what the actual main plot, main comedy, main story, and ideas are for the film. And it was an absolute hilarious blast to watch this. The comedy all throughout the film was absolutely hit most of the time throughout, and all of the ideas that the film explored relating to different aspects of relationships and whether people are okay with doing just, the typical two-person relationship or having polyamorous relationships, having more than multiple partners and whatnot, and then as well tying into that all the sexual stuff that can happen with that. So it was all done really tastefully, and really just they truly knew what they were doing and knew what to talk about and knew how to talk about it to make it not feel preachy or like it was message first for the film. They actually truly made a film that was really funny and accessible, but also had all of these very interesting ideas that they truly explored and talked about as the film went along. So The Invite, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out when you get the chance, because it's definitely, for me, the best comedy film we've gotten so far this year. And just as an overall film, it's just an absolute blast of a time to sit down and watch. Now, coming in at number 2 is Spider-Man Brand New Day. I an absolute huge fan of Spider-Man as a character, and for the most part I've really enjoyed majority if not almost all of the Spider-Man films we've gotten since the Raimi trilogy started back in the 2000s. And this film, for being an MCU Spider-Man film, truly and finally had Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man really on his own and trying to figure out how to live his life as Peter Parker and anonymously as Spider-Man due to the events of the ending of No Way Home, the previous film. And but then also still trying to keep in contact and see where his best friend Ned and ex-girlfriend now MJ are at in life, and then try to figure out how to reconnect with them, bring them back into his life as the film goes along. And then also, it's just super fun to see him interact with Frank Castle, the Punisher, and then we get Rage Monster Hulk, and we get a little bit of Bruce Banner in there as well. And we haven't seen, the true rageful Hulk in the MCU since Avengers Age of Ultron over a decade ago now. So that was really nice to see at certain points in the film. Also, Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, the villain of the film, was absolutely amazing. She had an absolute phenomenal performance as Jean Grey, and it's definitely one of the most interesting and one of the best villains of any Spider-Man film that I've seen. So this was just a really great Spider-Man film, and as well an MCU film, because it did feel very populated and truly felt like part of a cinematic universe again, which the MCU has generally been struggling with a lot in recent years, of trying to keep that interconnectivity as a cinematic universe. So Spider-Man Brand New Day it was just a great film, great Spider-Man film, great addition to the MCU, and is really building a lot of great hype for now Avengers Doomsday coming out at the end of the year. And box office wise, it's on track to potentially be just to maybe match the record opening weekend of Avengers Endgame, or maybe even beat it by the time the actual numbers come out tomorrow. So we will see, but it's already a record breaking edition and Spider-Man film and MCU film and just general film in general at the box office, with the amount of people that have been so excited and really wanted to see this film. So yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day, just such a great film. But coming in at number one pretty easily is The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan tackling Homer's The Odyssey, which, going into it, we were all just super excited to see how could Christopher Nolan bring this epic story to the big screen, to life. And he did an absolute phenomenal, basically perfect job of that. The visuals, the characters, the action sequences, all so good, so flawlessly put together. The story was great. For being a film that was nearly 3 hours, a little under 3 hours, it didn't feel like the movie dragged at any point, had any pacing issues. It flowed really nicely the entire time. So yeah, in the end, Christopher Nolan delivered yet again and reaffirmed why he's the best working director still out there and in these times. Coming off of Oppenheimer, winning all those Oscar awards for that, he tackles Homer's The Odyssey and just does an absolutely perfect job bringing it to the big screen. So yeah, The Odyssey, ever since I saw it for the first time when it first came out, I just absolutely loved the film, and pretty easily it became my favorite film of July 2026. What new films have you guys seen this month? Rank them down below in the comments section. Which films did you like the least? What were your favorite films of this past month? Now getting into August, we'll see how good this month will be in terms of new movies. I'm already planning to go see the new romantic comedy film this upcoming weekend for the first new film of August I'm going to see, called One Night Only, which I've been interested in and kind of excited to see since I saw the trailers over the last couple months. So That will be my first new film that I'll be seeing this month, in the month of August. But yeah, that is my list of ranking all the new July 2026 films that I saw from the worst to the best. The Odyssey pretty easily coming in as my favorite film for July. What were your favorite films? Rank them down below. Let's have a nice lively discussion down there. And I will see you guys in the next one.